Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Rouse, of course, and I'm going to talk about the large shaded horse drawing that you're going to be completing in class. It's based on the drawing you just finished with the cup and saucer done in charcoal, but today we're going to be doing a larger version. So just some things you'll need for today. You need this photograph of a horse. You can actually see it's, let me see if I can show you. It's sitting here right in the classroom. The real one is. And, because you're at home and I'm here, we have to do it this way this time. So I took a photograph from you. I want to mention to you that you don't have to do that exact composition. You could do about this much of it if you want. You could even do this much of it, kind of more this much of it. So decide exactly how much of the horse you're going to draw. So I would say at least half of what you're seeing. So do I have to draw the whole thing? No. You know, all of it or 2/3 of it or just the top half. Another thing, you're going to need the same materials for pastels. You do need the larger sheet of gray charcoal paper. It has a really nice surface. If you don't have that at home, you can come by school. I've got some for you. If you want to, because it's a one-day project, you can substitute construction paper because it has a nice surface too. Won't be quite as nice as charcoal, but it'll be fine. So the larger piece of paper, and let's get going. First thing you're going to do on this drawing, of course, is draw the horse. So I started one for you off the camera. So here's just the beginnings of a drawing, and you know, here's what it actually looks like. I did the same mistake a lot of people make. They make the eye way too large. But at this point in the drawing, I could, you know, later on I could just use my gray and kind of reduce the size of it down to what it really should be, something more like that, as I'm working on the drawing. So drawing it out, I wanted to show you something that sometimes works. If you put a grid over it, you can use a grid to enlarge it. That's a whole other story. But just putting the grid over it, I did that every inch. It shows me where the middle of the drawing is. It shows me how very straight this line is right here, for instance. So this is actually doesn't curve as much. It's much more like this. Like I said, I can correct that from the outside if I want to. It shows me, you know, the angle right here. So this is going to angle out just a little bit more. Coming out there, I can see the eye is right over this open space. So the eye is just a little bit further down in my drawing. I can see the chin is over the top of the opening here. I have the chin in about the right place. Anyway, you can really kind of analyze it a little bit better if you want to take the time to put some lines, and then you can see the eye is over the second knee, but in a little bit, so I've got that about right. So you can use this to compare some things. That's optional. So as the drawing, you kind of get to where you're far enough along, you feel like you want to start your shading on this one, then just like the last one, I'm going to strongly recommend you start working on your very white areas first, starting in, see, I'm looking for these large white areas. I can correct my drawing at this point, adding some more things to it. Here's a nice, you know, I'm adding the inference of the muscles here and there. Up here on top of the leg is very white. So as I'm starting the drawing, I'm adding a lot of really light areas to it. You know, the lighting is on top and a little bit from the front. So that'll end up showing in the drawing. So I'm starting to work in adding a lot of lights to what I can see right here. And I'm going to go through, I should go through the whole drawing pretty carefully. This is a big circle right here that's very light. And go through the whole thing, finding your lightest areas and so on. So after you've gone through and found your really light areas really popping, remember you can let just the paper show for a grade. The paper counts in your range of lights and darks. After I've gone through my drawing, and by the way, feel free just to stop the camera anytime you want, and while you're working on various steps on this drawing is going to be this movie is more of a sample than I'm not going to illustrate the entire process since you've already done it once. Anyway, after you've gone through with your whites, then you're going to go through and add. Now the samples I'm going to show you are done when the class could see it from different angles. You can see some slightly different angles on this. So after you've done that, then you start adding your grays as well. In the past, people were able to choose some different colors. So this is just something I did, just getting a drawing started, light areas, gray areas, letting some of the red show through. And then also, in the second stage, if you need to kind of clean up some things, I don't know how light or dark I wanted my background to be, but let's say I wanted it a little darker, I could go in and kind of correct some of my edges with my use of my background, right? So that's what you're seeing in this drawing right here. So going around your drawing, fixing up things, and so on. Once that's kind of done, then you're going to start blending it and finishing it off. The drawing we did yesterday took about, I reckon it took me half an hour, so I'm saying for you guys 45 minutes. So this drawing today, there's large areas that are fairly simple, but there's also other areas that aren't. I'm thinking this is definitely an hour for you to do this drawing, maybe up to an hour and a half, depending on how long you can stick with it. But let me show you some student samples of what the students have done in the past with this assignment. Here's one that has, I want to say you can tell they were looking at the shading because it's consistent. There's a light source here. I can tell what part of the classroom they were sitting in. They were looking at the angles in the mouth and the different things they saw. It's not ridiculously detailed, but it's very nicely shaded. So this is a nice job. Well done. This one is interesting because they took the time to really find some of the details. There's actually some veins up here on the horse. They do have the shading. It's a little more gray. They've done an interesting job on the background. I would say it's also very nice, kind of dramatic. Possibly they could have gone in with the white one more time and really made some of those light areas really bright. Here's another one done by a student. What's really nice about this is their original drawing was really cool looking, and that's coming out here, and at the end you can really see it. And so you can see how they had the outlines and shaded things. You can see the inference to the lights, but maybe not quite as strong as some of the other drawings. But these are all great, by the way. I'm showing you drawings I like. This is a nice drawing. They used a very similar angle to what we had. They used the white quite a lot and just a little bit of the grays, and also letting the gray paper show through. But you can see how they've emphasized things. I would say the lighting's kind of coming from this way, but I don't know why we're not seeing it on top of his head. But kind of softer look to it, and maybe not as heavy in application, but they got some nice details in, and it looks great. This next one is a little bit of an outline still. They maybe could have worked more with the shading and so on, but it's looking nice so far. I wanted you to see this one because the whole technique is very different. It's much looser and a little more expressive. This is also okay. You can still see the shading. You can still see where it's lit up right here. So if you feel like kind of going for it in an artistic way, that would also be okay. Some things I don't necessarily want you to do is here on, let's say you made something, I think we can all tell what happened here is they did the drawing, it was too small, so they turned it into Pegasus. That's not really the assignment, right? And you really can't see the correct shading because it's too small. In fact, it looks like it's shaded from right here, and that wasn't even the situation in the classroom when they were looking at it. So it's largely made up. So they really didn't do the assignment right for a variety of reasons, although it's fun. Please don't do a small drawing, do it nice and big on the page. This one's kind of initially nice looking, but if you look at it, what they've really done is just outlined. They've done the drawing, which is really interesting angle, and then they've drawn some of the darker lines, and then they just kind of highlighted the lines. So we're not really seeing the shading or the effects of light, especially. So I would say this drawing could definitely go further. It's interesting, but it's really not what we wanted. I wanted you guys to see this. There was a time and a place when we would just do this assignment in pencil. It does take longer, but you can see some nice shading and so on. There's a couple people who are unable to get the right supplies. I wanted you to see a pencil drawing of the same assignment, and it's looking pretty good. You can see shading and so on. So nice looking drawing so far. The only other thing I wanted to mention while you're working on this is when you're doing the drawing, remember to, if you're having a hard time getting the shapes right, let's practice just getting started on it. Remember to just draw shapes. So, you know, what kind of shape is this? Well, that's kind of a shape that goes like that. You know, what kind of a shape is this? Well, this shape kind of goes like that. What we got up here, we have that kind of a shape, and then we have something that goes like that. So what I'm doing is I'm putting this in by kind of analyzing. Here's a big triangular shape here, kind of analyzing some shapes, and then this thing comes out here. It's right under here. So this kind of shape, and then this kind. So I used shapes to help me put this in, and then I can go back and correct things. Like this is too big. Maybe I want to change that angle. Maybe this is not correct. I'm looking at this angle here. So going back and correcting things, which is, you know, fine. Is, you know, lots of times, by the way, people make the eye too high up. So move it way, kind of down a ways is where it's going to be. And then I think it's called a bridle, this strap the horse wears. And so anyway, I would start by some basic shapes and then go back into this and refine your basic shapes. I would say this time I didn't even use the white pencil. I went ahead and went directly to the white pastel to do the drawing. So this is one way of going about the drawing. Like I said, this might also help you, you know, kind of see where things are lined up and how it's, without having to copy it. You can also enlarge the squares and copy it and get it down there perfect. That's another thing. It's called the grid method, but I just put the grid on there so you can kind of see and compare. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this. You can be a little bit creative with this assignment. I'm going to put this really large here on the camera right now, if you want to look at that to help you draw. Look at this one in particular. So you can be a little creative with your style, with the way that horse's hair is blowing, with how much of the horse that you show. So have some fun with this drawing, and I really hope you enjoy the project. Thank you.